Hello, rodeo fans. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Half Point. I guess we haven't done one of these for a couple of weeks now. There was kind of a small August lull, but now it's here, the final week of the Canadian Professional Rodeo season, the last chance to make a move and qualify for the CFR. There's some really cool races shaping out all across the board, from Bubble Watch to year-end leaders to people pushing for those last few spots getting the NFR. It's going to be a wild and western finish to the season here, Clay.
It is. It's going to be a different dynamic, I think, for contestants that are competing on both sides of the border to be able to kind of tidy up their business for 2024 in Canada, and then anybody who's in that dogfight to make the NFR can just go full steam ahead
Hmm.
and focus on that. Don't think you've got to come to some of these smaller ones to really make sure you're still in the fight up here
Hmm.
when you might be passing up some opportunities down there. I actually went to a little rope and jackpot on the weekend and got to rope with Dylan and Dawson Graham's grandpa and their
Hmm.
sister there, and talking with their grandpa Roger about how they're fighting that fight on both sides, but they'll at least be able to know where they stand in Canada here after this
Hmm.
coming weekend, and then they can go at her down south.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cool way to like put a bow on the season with this how big the Labor Day weekend is in Canada. You got Armstrong, got the Armstrong Tour Finals, you got Langley, which has a ton of money up for the rough stock and barrel racers, and then obviously Merritt to kind of fill in the gaps as people are traveling around BC. But it's just gonna be like we're not gonna know until the 11th hour of the last day what's gonna go down. So it's just shaping up to be an awesome, awesome weekend of action.
No doubt. And when I was first thinking about this, I was thinking that the tour finals would be kind of that last chance for everybody and everything like that. But it'll actually be Langley and Merritt that go after that. So yeah, you'll know some of the big parts, but for those rough stock guys and those barrel racers that are in Langley, that's a
Tons of
huge
money.
opportunity for them. So
Yeah.
it's a
I was
game
talking
changer.
to Dakota. I think I mentioned this in the Dave Paulson interview, but I was talking to Dakota Butter at Nick Tetz's wedding last year, and he told me that one week, like a couple years ago, that this very weekend, he won over 20 grand. So I mean, like if you're one of those guys, even if you're like in 25th or 26th, like you still have a chance to make the finals. Like there's a ton of money available. So if you show up with your riding pants on, there's some cool stuff that can happen. But Clay, before we get into all of that and what's to come and and previewing everything, let's look back on last weekend. We had a big central southern Alberta run wrap up with Nanton, Okotoks, and then the tour rodeo in Lethbridge. With some again, the kind of like just seeing more of these races unfold and kind of the usual suspects make picking away at it. But let's start with the bareback riding. I think it's gonna be a fight to the finish with Oren Larson and Clint Lay battling it out for that season leader title in the bareback riding.
Those two are just going head to head and matching each other shot for shot here. You see Oren Larson go to Lethbridge, and you draw Shadow Warrior. Again, that horse has just been so good for so long here. He's 85 and a half to win that, makes over $2,500.
Hmm.
Then you have Clint, who didn't have any luck there at Lethbridge, but goes wins Okotoks on a kind of a bit of an unknown one there called Coconut Valley that Volds are packing with them, and made a great ride for 89 points there, and then had been in Nanton earlier in the weekend and drew the absolute sweetheart, aka you just as a bareback rider of any age, whether it's 15 or 90, you would love to get on that horse. And so he's 84 points to get second there, and so he made $2,100 over the weekend. So again, those two contestants at the top of the bareback
Hmm.
standings right now just didn't give each other any leeway.
When we talk about NFR races, and Oren's one of those guys who's I think he's as things sit right now in the PRCA, he's $1,000 or a few thousand bucks short of oh, who's ahead of him? Anyways, he's a few thousand bucks short of 15th place, but he's gonna be right in the mix until the very end. So I'm hoping that with Oren coming up here and Langley and all these big events coming up, that we can see them kind of finish out the season leader race, but also help Oren kind of catapult himself back into that top 15 and get to his 10th NFR. Speaking of NFR hopefuls and battles, the steer wrestling is another one of those ones where two Canadian guys are duking it out for the 15th spot. Stephen Kong and Scott Gunther. Stephen had a big run in Lethbridge. Was it Lethbridge? Sorry, I don't have it in front of me here. In Okotoks, sorry, one Okotoks
Okotoks.
3.2. But yeah, that's gonna be another race we have to keep a close eye on is that 15th spot in the steer wrestling.
Absolutely. I checked the one day and you've got Stevens in 15th and Scotty's in 16th. And then the next day I look and they've swapped. So again, that sometimes the Canadian results take a day or so to get down to the PRCA office. And so that just makes a difference there. But again, just a 3.2. That's when I try to think back on a lot of our other results, that's definitely one of the fastest times we've seen this year. And again, it's great to see both of those guys at the top of their game right now in this
Hmm.
fight and feeling good and rodeoing hard. So great to see them. You hope that they bump somebody else out and they
Yeah,
both make it for our
yeah.
sake as Canadians, but you're glad to see them both making such a good
Hmm.
push here right now.
When that goes back to your point earlier, where you say at least like for those pushing the NFR, like this isn't their last chance for romance type of weekend. They can put the Canadian season to bed, still make some good money, but then you have that whole Northwest round and a few to kind of put a bow on the PRCA season. So it's a very realistic outcome for those two guys that both end up heading down to Vegas. And sounds like Scotty's going to go, so that's perfect. Probably the biggest surprise on the weekend, and we'll get into this more once we get to the second half of the show. But Curtis Cassidy jumps out, wins Lethbridge, pulls a check in Okotoks, and jumps jumps up from 20th to 12th in the standings and has himself in a fight for that last spot. But we won't get too deep into that, but we will here in a few minutes. But just a little quick shout out to Curtis Cassidy and Horse of the Year Tyson on getting some work done this past weekend. Um, let's look at the breakaway roping. Kind of another thing too, where some of these bubble contest competitors are making some big moves. Like Jenna Dallin, she was kind of the one who we talked about quite a bit after the NFR Open win, that she was kind of looking for that confidence, kind of looking for that momentum, and it seems like she's found it, picking up some checks, and has herself in the mix for also qualifying for the CFR. What do you think about that, Clay? I ran out of breath, so I needed a break.
I think you nailed it on the head there. She's been roping really well, just plugging away here. And this last weekend again didn't come out with a win in either spot. But again, you're 2-4 at Lethbridge or at Nat, and you're 2-2 at Lethbridge. You make $2,700. And again, she
Mhm.
made a huge jump to be in this fight here on the good side for right now, unofficially from what we can see. And it is just as almost as surprising looking at where she was when we had talked about her after the NFR Open, as it is for Curtis Cassidy. I think they're very similar in that sense
Mhm.
that maybe the beginning of the year didn't go as well as they might have wanted, but I mean, Curtis has got a whole host of experience behind him, but Jenna definitely showing she knows what to do when the money's on the line and the season's on the line here right now. So again, she's just got herself set up really well for this
Mhm.
weekend coming up.
Well, and a special shout out before we move on from I guess from the as we move before we move on from the breakaway roping. I was thinking about this and I was putting myself in a pretzel. But in Lethbridge, we had one, two, three, four ties for every check in the breakaway roping. So shout out to the ladies in Lethbridge making some big runs and some quick times, making it happen there. So that was just a little quick shout out before we move on to the next event. We got the saddle bronc riding. So Lucas Moxa picked up some ground on Zeke Thurston after winning Lethbridge. And as you have here, Clay, he's only 8,000 behind Zeke, but that gap could become a little bit wider as we get through Armstrong and Langley here.
we we've reiterated this when it comes to Zeke. I think any gap where Zeke's ahead of you is is a tough one to make up. But I mean, you cannot fault Lucas Moxa for the season that he has had. I mean, he has just put up victory after victory. If you took out those two big bronc ridings that Zeke went home with all the money from, this is a little bit different race, but those all count, and that's the game that these bronc riders are all playing. So you know that Lucas is just riding every horse
Hmm.
and just doing everything he can here to just keep
Not
in
going
this
down
fight.
without a fight. He's gonna
Not
try and have
even
that
no.
gap closed off as much as he can. And it's gonna be exciting, man. It's crazy. Another special shout out to Leon Fountain. He was 88.5 points on Volt's lipstick letters in Okotoks to get the win there. It's not looking like he'll make the CFR this year, but again, I could be wrong. You never know. Leon has a big weekend this weekend. He could easily jump up into that top 12. So we're not mailing it in on old Leon just yet.
I might just pop back there again. We talked about Jenna in the breakaway, but I'd hate to skip over Kylie Whiteside. She had an enormous weekend last weekend.
Hmm.
She split Lethbridge for 2 point with a 2.1 to make $2,100. She split Okotoks with a 1.9, almost made another $2,100. Left the weekend with over 4,200, and now she's in a race that we'll probably talk about a little bit more here in a bit. But I mean,
Hmm.
she's just breathing down Laurie Saunders' neck there for season leaders after a
Hmm.
huge rapid weekend there.
Yeah, and that's like you say, we'll talk about a bit about that more here as we get into the second part of the show. But that's is another one of those races that just that unfolds this time of year, and people win money, and people try to make that ground. So it's just going to be a really thrilling finish. Moving to tie down rope and clay, we had a couple traveling partners have a couple big weekends, couple big runs, making some money that's going to be vital at both the Canadian standings, the pro rodeo standings, and as well one of those guys getting closer to his rodeo count.
Absolutely. We've got the teacher and the student here together. Again, Shane being such an integral mentor to Bo Cooper as he's really become one of the absolute best calf ropers we have coming out of Canada right now in the world. And again, he said, I maybe have only been up here for a couple of rodeos this year so far. Maybe some people don't think I'm going to get my rodeo count, myself included, up until last week. But Shane here again goes out, wins Lethbridge, second in Okotoks, a 7.5 and a 7.9 at those two rodeos, makes over $5,000.
Mhm.
Bo jumps out, wins Okotoks himself with that 7.5 and makes $2,700 there. That's he's sitting 20th in the world as of right now, but he's within $2,000 of that. And again, you
Mhm.
just know that, I mean, he won Calgary last year. He knows when the money's on the line and that calf's
Yeah.
good for him in front of him. He knows what he's doing here. And again, Shane's been a big part of learning that game within the
Mhm.
game and really prepping him for this run.
Yeah, Bo is one of those guys when you're in the pressure cooker, he finds a way to win and get things done. So it would not be surprising to see him have a huge week, have a huge couple weeks here and make his way back down to Vegas for a second trip to the NFR. Barrel racing, we had a couple gals. Well, Lynette Broadway, the reigning Canadian champion, kind of put a stranglehold, or not even a stranglehold, try like distance herself from the pack a little bit last weekend, picking up some big checks, split in Lethbridge, placed in Nanton, picked up $3,500. It's going to put her again in the mix for her second season leader title in a row. And then as you have here, Lisa Groves also had a big weekend, Clay.
For sure. And with Lynette, and I know we've talked about this before, and I think it was one of the interviews either you had done or we had seen in the on the web page there, where last year when she was season leader, she did it by just placing consistently,
Hmm.
not really winning a lot, but we've seen her time and time again this year. I think if we looked at the tour standings for the SMS Equipment Tour, she'd be leading that still
Hmm.
again after Lethbridge, because I think she was before Lethbridge, but she's been coming out on top, and it was a dogfight again there in Lethbridge. I mean, three of them at the top, and it was really cool. I don't know if you saw those buckles they had there, those
The
leather
leather
buckles
ones,
that
yeah, cool.
yeah, those were really neat. I don't know if those will catch on, but I think that's a really neat prize they had there. And but again, that top of the barrel racing is a tough fight. I mean, again, she leapfrogged Brooke Wills there and Lisa Groves. I had saw it. I mean, when she started this year, she really was just kind of planning on seasoning this horse, Mula,
Mhm.
and things started rolling. And I'm sure she had bigger plans on the futurity and the ABRA side. But I saw she had posted she had to turn out of the short go at the ABRA finals, and she made the most of that. Went down and won Okotoks, and only 15 or sub 15-second run that was made there, and she's
Mhm.
just maintaining her place there in what again is going to be just another exciting event to take a look at here in a bit.
No doubt. And another event where these races are shaping up is the team roping. Clay, I don't know what you want to say about that, but it was another exciting weekend at the team event side of the arena.
For sure, and I realize I hadn't updated my little bullets there, but I've got it on here. The really interesting thing that happened last weekend is we saw the Groves brothers have really good weekend,
Hmm.
but they did it separately for once. And we saw Grady Quam paired up with Logan, and they ended up making a bunch of money out of Lethbridge and Nat, and I think they were 4-6 on each run, just top notch runs. And then Brody paired up with Grady's partner, uh, Tice McLeod,
Hmm.
and it's just a really kind of an interesting thing. They placed at both of those rodeos as well, and did, I mean, made over 2 grand between the two of them. But I had to reach out because I was like, geez, I mean, I know those Groves brothers. They don't always get along and everything, but I texted Logan the other day just to ask what had happened, and it was more so a situation where Grady and Tice were looking at making a change, and the way the Groves' season had been, they did have that big win in Morris, but just had been a little bit down the list and thinking, okay,
Hmm.
the season's getting to the end here, and Logan was just looking at parking his horse and going to work. So
Hmm.
Brody had said, yeah, Tice, I'll rope with you, whatever. And suddenly, before they made the switch, Logan and Brody had a good little run and made a little bit more money. So Logan decided, well, I better enter too. So Grady, I guess if you're looking for a healer, I'll rope with you and everything. And now again, we'll talk about this one in a bit, but there you've got their new partners there are both solid in making the CFR, but suddenly Logan's not too far out of it. So
Hmm.
it was quite a big jump there and everything. But yeah, again, some of the big dogs made some money over the weekend, and again, it's just another race that you just
Yeah.
it's gotta see how this all turns out this weekend.
There's so many races to keep up with and follow on both sides, both ends of the standings, I guess you could say. I was gonna say too that it's almost to the point now where we need a reality show following our team ropers around just to keep track of like the keeping up with the team ropers, kind of Kardashian style reality TV with all the partner switches we've seen over the past whatever month and a half or couple months it's been. But seems to be working for these guys, so you gotta do what you gotta do. But okay, to wrap up kind of the weekend recap in the bull riding. Dakota Butter with I think that's the highest marked bull ride of the year, 90.5 points on Alberta Prime Devil's Advocate, the big scary Charlet high horn looking sucker. But he's that bull's one of the best bulls in the game right now, and Dakota stuck it all over him. Looked like he was 19 years old again and got himself the win over there in Lethbridge and he's kind of making a big push to win as much money as he can here in the fall to get his qualifications up and push for that NFR qualification. The kind of the only thing that's eluded Dakota in his bull riding career. So good on him to get a win there. Young gun Grady Young kind of put the final nail in the coffin for him to take home the Rookie of the Year award. Rode all three of his bulls, picked up on nearly $5,000, and to your note here, Clay has himself in the mix for a Canadian title. So it's going to be a pretty cool finish to the season for Grady. He's all there. That kid is. It's pretty impressive watching him ride.
Veteran versus rookie there over the weekend,
Yeah.
both of them having a huge one. That ride Dakota Butter put on was
Oh man.
sensational under the lights. I mean, that
Yeah.
that replay, I got to see that, and you just can't ask for anything more. And I mean, that bull is not easy,
No.
but it's I don't know if he heard that Chester won Bull of the Year again this year, and it just
Hmm.
made him that much madder. But Dakota was knew what he had, and I mean, anytime you get one that goes each way like that and just gives a guy, he looks so tricky, but he must have enough timing there that those
Hmm.
guys they put up some big scores when they get him covered. And yeah, I thought that was a cool moment at a
And he's
big
a
rodeo for him.
scary. I think that part of that is just the guys are too scared to fall off him because he'll run you over. But that might be a bit of a motivating factor because he is a terrifying old sucker.
Well, and I think I've seen a few other names, and I know there's at least one other one that's just a carbon copy of him. Like there's a
Hmm.
few other Devil Bulls that Kesslers have got right now, and yeah, I wouldn't want to sort them. I wouldn't want to hang a flank on them. I just Chase, you're up, bud.
Yeah, yeah. Good luck. Good luck. Before we move into our second half here, Clay, we want to give us another shout out to Jake Gardner, currently sitting 14th in the PRCA World Standings, looking like he's gonna have his first trip to the Wrangler NFR. He's been riding unbelievable this fall. He rode the PBR bull of the world, riding solo out east in New Jersey. And he just seems to be riding everything they run under him. He picked up second place in Lethbridge over the weekend. So we're pulling for you, Jay. Keep on trucking through, buddy. But I think this is a good time as any. We got our rodeo recaps done. Actually, also hats off to Nanton, Lethbridge, and Okotoks are putting on some awesome rodeos this weekend. But anyways, that's going to take us to the second half of the show. We're going to bring on I guess, our insider, the one who built out our Bubble Watch spreadsheet, the one and only Cass Haussaur, the owner, operator, manager of Lipstick and Cowboy Boots. Cass, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Hey guys, thought we were starting at 3. You guys sure got to talking, hey?
Hey, I told you that we are going to bring you on partway through. So I tried to make a plan
Nice branding.
beforehand.
I like
Yeah.
the placement there. That's you got it right.
Got her
Um,
up.
So, okay, Cass, we have kind of the common theme of the past, like, I would even say like month of this show and the short round and everything has been the races that are unfolding, who's on the bubble, who's going to get in, who's not going to get in, who's going to win season leader title, all that fun stuff. And you have taken the time over the past, I guess, almost week now to build out a spreadsheet that it's all unofficial. I guess we need to preface this that nothing is official about this, but you have all the standings up till now. We've included the money that people have unofficially won in Lethbridge, Nanton, and Okotoks to kind of give us a better picture of what it's going to look like. So what's your kind of like initial findings slash feelings towards some of these bubble watch standings, I guess.
Okay, for the Bubble Watch standings, I've done this for a couple of years. I've just never really broadcast it to a lot of people, but it's exciting. Bubble Watch is exciting. It's something that people really like to pay attention to. So coming into this past weekend, we had Brooke at the top of the leaderboard in the barrel racing. Since the weekend, there's been a switch up. Lynette Broadway has taken over number 1. Brooke has moved to number 2. Really, the only changes in the barrel racing we've seen is in that top 4.
Mhm.
Tiani Schuster has been bumped down to 4th and Taylor Manning into 3rd. Then when we get to the bubble watch portion, we go to the bottom. Blake Molly is sitting on the bubble, and we have a switch up there as well. Again, there was Jackie Ganner was just on the outside. Now Justine Elliott and Blondie are on the outside looking in. Another one that I'd be really excited about to see make it would be Kirby Pentilla. She is just outside of it as well, and Kyla Simmons. So those are the
It's
ones
going to
on
be
the
exciting.
outside. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So Justine Elliott unofficially would be just $338.67 on the outside behind Blake. Jackie Ganter should be about 756-ish dollars behind Blake. Kirby, she is just under $1,000 behind Blake. Kyla Simmons, she's about $2,500 out of it, but anything can happen, and that's
Anything's
kind of the fun of it,
possible.
right?
With the amount of
Yeah.
money added in like Armstrong, the tour finals, and Langley and Merritt too, like there's a ton of money out there to be won. And okay, Cass, before we move into the rest of the standings,
Mhm.
let's what's been your like initial review of the 2024 season? What are some things that have stood out to you? And maybe what's been a bit different something different that you've noticed about building out this bubble watch spreadsheet as to in comparison to previous years?
Well, previous years I only ever did the barrel racing and the
But
breakaway rope.
there'll be some trends that are kind of similar though, right? You know what I mean? Like I think we've talked about it lots, like the amount of money that's available this season comparative to the last few years is crazy. But anyways, I'll let you continue on.
Yeah, totally. The money has been huge, obviously. I just really like watching, like when I talked with Lynette last year, after she won Canada in her interview, she really wanted to make it back. She wanted to come to Edmonton to have it be inside Rogers Place, and she's showing how bad that she wants it. So it's been fun to watch her climb in the standings and make it up top. Brooke, she's been in the CFR before. It was really fun to be seeing her at the top of the leaderboard. Her and her horse Famey, who just got the horse with the most heart award this year, which is really cool. Again, we have Taylor Manning, so she's in the top. So it's kind of cool to see 3 girls in the top that have won Canada before duking it out. I'd love to see one of them win it again. Or hey, if someone else wants to come in and be a new champion, that would be really cool too. For that bubble, those bubble people, I feel Kyla Simmons, I believe, has been in a similar position in years gone by, and so I'd really like to see her like get
Hmm.
past it and get in this year. But then that's to say, if she's going to get in, someone's got to be out, and I'm not going to be one to pick who would be bumped out. I want to see all of these people succeed at Edmonton, right? But only so many can go.
Cassie could
Before
have her top 20 go to the CFR
Yeah,
and Barrel.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If only we could make it that way, it'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Right?
Um, One thing we were just talking about this actually before you hopped on, Cass, was Lynette Broadway. Last year was a season leader, high point, or she was that had the number one back number heading into Red Deer, but she really didn't like have a season where she won it, like got first place a ton. She kind of picked away, like just was super consistent. She has been this year as well, but we're
Yeah.
noticing her more in like the first, second place, like winning more and more. But so what's changed, do you think, in her approach slash maybe her mentality, or what's been the difference maker for seeing her kind of win more, which is probably not the right term, but
I want to say, and I could be wrong on this, my memory might not serve me correctly, but I feel like Lynette's horse last year was a little bit younger. And so this year he really would have came on a little bit stronger and would have been more comfortable in those rodeo atmospheres. As well, I believe she mentioned about something about sound, that the horse didn't like the loud noises that were
mm,
happening in the arena at CFR. So she wasn't even having like the best CFR
no,
performance could have had. So she had to put some earplugs in, and then that made a world of difference. So there's little things that you learn along the way with your horses, and then you can use them for the next season, obviously, to do better. And here she is. She was sitting second, now she's first and heading in. Like we only have a few left, right? And then we're in Edmonton.
it's here, yeah. Yeah, and she's got herself in a good position to walk away with that season leader title once again. Clay, do you got anything on the barrel race before I ask her the hard hitting final question for the barrel before we move to next?
Again, that bubble race is tight, and we talked about it. That Langley is just going to be such a wild card
Mm,
because, I mean, you could see someone like Angela Ganter who's sitting in 20th there. I mean, with as much money as there is to be won at all of those rodeos,
it's not a
she could make
far-fetched.
that whole jump too,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
again, you definitely, any of those girls that are 8th to 12th can't be sitting idle this weekend because anybody can come out of nowhere and really pile in there, I think, this last weekend.
So,
Yeah.
and then isn't Langley a smaller pen cast? So like it's going to favor some of the other horses compared to others, or am I talking shit?
You know what? Some people do prefer smaller pens. Some people's horses do better in the bigger pens. Some horses will bounce off the wall. Some people just
Mm,
their horses will eat up the barrels. It's totally and then there's some women that have different horses that maybe they'll run depending on the arena size. I feel like a lot of these gals though, like Lynette's only running Famey. I'm pretty sure Lynette, or pardon me, Brooke's only running Famey. Lynette's only running one horse. Taylor always has a handful to choose from, but they do have small pen horses, big pen
mm.
horses. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So before we move to the next event, I want all of us to make our season leader prediction and then who's going to get in the top bottom two spots. So 11, 12. So Clay, start with you. Season leader and then who's your final two to get in.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I gotta go with Lynette. I think again, she had a great
Mm-hmm.
weekend last weekend. I think she's gonna roll into BC here, just carry that on. She just again, how can you count out the year she's had? And no, nothing against any of the rest of them, but I that's where I'm going there. Uh, yeah, it is just tight down there. I think Justine Elliott and Kirby have had a really good August. I think both of
Mm.
them have had some wins and some big placings here to really gain some ground. So I think those are my two. If anybody's going to sneak in, those are the two I'm picking to get across that finish line into the top 12.
All right, Cass, you're up. You
I
have
was
to
just
pick.
looking in my I was just looking in my pocket to see if I had like a quarter or something that I could flip because it's really hard for me to pick between Lynette and Brooke. Yeah, you're this is really the worst thing for me
You
to do.
gotta pick. You
I'm
gotta
go
pick.
okay, I'm gonna pick
There can only
Brooke
be
because
one.
I'm gonna pick Brooke because Lynette had it last year and I really like Brooke and I really like Famey. Not to say that I don't really like Lynette as well, but yeah, I'll pick Brooke for season leader and then focus on the bubble to get in, like who's on the outside
Yeah,
looking
pick
in.
two to get in. Two to who's gonna be in at the bottom two spots.
Justine and Kirby.
Done deal. That's it. So you and Claire are on the same page. I'm gonna go with Lynette for season leader just because she's won it before. She's really driven to get it. Again, anybody Taylor could still come behind from behind and win it too. It's there's an open door there, but I'm sticking with Lynette. And then I'm gonna go Justine Elliott for sure, because I feel like she like knows what it takes to get there, and she like Clay said she's dialed in. But I'm gonna say Blake Molly holds on to number 12. She's gonna pull up her socks and get some checks won out west in BC this weekend, and we'll see her back for her, I guess her second CFR would it be?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. Nice. Next event, we're rolling through. Cass, let's go to your second bread and butter event, the breakaway rope, and give us a little breakdown of the season and where people are sitting and kind of how everything is shaping up there.
Lori Saunders holding strong to that number one spot. Though we've got Kylie Whiteside making quite the jump, obviously, with everything that she won in the past weekend. You guys have already covered that. She made a jump, I want to say, from sixth to second place, which is pretty crazy.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, like kudos to her. That's pretty big. McKenna Shower bumping down to third. I mean, Bobby Henderson, she's sitting fourth. She was seventh, bumping Brady down a spot. Lakota Bird was third. She got bumped down. So there's been a lot of movement in the breakaway roping, which is kind of exciting to see. Nerve-wracking, I'm sure, for the competitors, but fun for those of us on the outside looking in. And then we go to the bubble watch. Jenna Dallin, she's currently sitting in that number 12 spot, but not that far off of her, knocking at the door with just $287-ish behind, unofficially, of course, is Aubrey Ross, who has made the CFR before. And then just below Aubrey, we go to Darby Wilkinson at around $411. And then Shea Beaver, she is outside of Jenna Dallin just by about $483, which is pretty crazy. I mean, and then still you could go to Jesse Armstrong, who's about $690. And then you get into the $1,084 is Bailey Smith. Like, it's tight. It's a close race. And like we talked about, there's money, there's a few left. Anything is possible. And then looking at like what a crazy jump that Kylie had. She's now only $876 behind Lori. That's
That's
you make
wild.
that
Yeah.
much of a jump, and then you could potentially be season leader. Holy smokes.
It's crazy. Well, and one thing that I want to, before we get into anything else, is we can't forget about the SMS Pro Tour finals that happened the Saturday after the first 2 days of Armstrong are over. The Saturday night perf is the Armstrong Tour finale. So there, to win an event at a tour rodeo, it's 100 points. So there's like essentially that's kind of like the top of it. But there's some people who are in like on this bubble watch side of things, like Shea. Darby Wilkinson is currently first in the SMS Tour standings, as things stand. This is not including Lethbridge, but she's gonna get in, and but then there's people like Jenna Dallin who's not gonna get in to the tour finals is the way things, unless she wins, I guess, the rodeo. But I mean, there could be some huge implications by just sneaking into that tour finale on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, and Jenna did place at Lethbridge, so that could have propelled her in there because she was only a couple of points out before that. So
it could.
So it's again, yeah, you're absolutely right in saying that tour standings right now is just so critical for any of those contestants that are on the bubble.
Trying to get in, trying to get out. Okay, well, I think we have kind of broken that down a little bit better. So, Cass, I'm going to pose the question to you. Who's going to win season leader? Who's getting in? Who's not getting in?
Okay, I'll stick with Lori Saunders as season leader because I think she's had a pretty good lead for a while. It's again very hard for me to pick these things. You're really stressing questions. And who is staying in? Oh my gosh. I'd like to see Darby Wilkinson get in there. That would be great. We have to pick another one. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
bottom two.
Well, let's go Shea. Darby and Shea. Jump ahead. Get in there. She's so good.
She's the champ. She's broke the record twice.
Yeah,
she broke it once, tied it once. So that's pretty.
Yeah.
She's gonna be ready to rumble when it comes to Armstrong. Clay, who do you got?
I'm gonna go with McKenna Shower. I think again she's such a hand.
Damn.
For season leader. I mean, you look at this honestly with the way this weekend could shake out. Anybody that's in that top 10 almost, or at least your top 7 has, I mean, within that $3,000 or $3,500, there's that to be won between both of those events in Armstrong and Merritt. So, but I'm gonna go with McKenna Shower, if only because I still feel bad about missing a steer she spun for me at a jackpot a couple years ago. She spun it great. I did not. Broke well. On that same note, I think I gotta go with the Stetler connection there with Aubrey Ross and Jesse Armstrong. Again, you've got that those two there. I mean, Aubrey, she's come a long ways here. She's still a high school rodeo competitor here, and
she was season leader last year too.
Yeah,
she's no slouch, man.
No, and I mean, again, that whole family, they've done is rope their entire lives,
That's all they do.
and so I'm going with her sneaking in there, and Jesse Armstrong. I mean, maybe goes back to the bull riding side of things on the lessons in life, but she's a handy roper there too, and
Mm.
be good to see her make it this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a thrilling finish. I'm gonna have to go with Shea and Jenna getting in. Shea has that Canadian title pedigree under her belt, and then Jenna, I think, feel like she's been rolling since she won the NFR Open, like we talked about earlier. Clay, and I think I'm gonna stick with Laurie Saunders when in the year end. Like Cass said, she's been having such a great year, and when it comes to her having to make some moves and really defend that position, I think she's gonna be able to do so this week as we roll through the weekend. Okay. Moving into this, I guess this is Clay's bread and butter. So we'll let Clay give us the breakdown when it comes to the saddle bronc riding side of things, then we'll make some predictions. So rock and roll, Clay.
Again, it's been a dogfight all year, and not to say that any of the other events aren't. The bronc riding adds that extra dimension with all those extreme broncs events that we've had, whether you're looking at
Mm,
Gleason and Weyburn and Wildwoods, you got Stettler and Pollockville. I mean, those added so much money that, again, we talked about Lucas Mox has had just a phenomenal year,
mhm.
and Zeke just is hard to beat. just
Zeke
it just
Zeke is Zeke.
Zeke
Yeah.
is Zeke, and when it comes down to it, you put him best on best. Chances are he's going to come out there on top a lot. I mean, again, you look at the rodeo counts. It's not that Lucas has been to every rodeo. He's been trying to make the NFR as well.
Hmm.
But I mean, Zeke just he knows how to win, and yeah, on the other end of things, as much as we've got these veterans that are established, you get well, one rookie American, that Zach Dallas, I mean, showed up in Pinoca and has just been on a tear since. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
I guess he had also won Weyburn there, and just he's been really since June on just kind of come from nowhere to just establish himself on the world stage,
Hmm.
and then you've got Kyle Wanchuk and Sawyer Erickson, two all around hands that, again, I'm hoping that Sawyer can pick up that last check or two in the team roping so that him and Kyle can duke it out for that Kenny McLean award at
Oh yeah.
CFR, if only because that was my prediction when we talked to Tim here a couple of weeks ago. But um, seeing both of the Wanchuk brothers in there right now within a few dollars of each other, and everything like that. I mean, I again similar to Cassie when she's looking at the barrel race, and there's not a guy on here I'm cheering against.
Yeah.
I mean, Chance Barras there had yeah, I always feel so bad. I rodeoed with his dad back in the day, and I always read that and I always say it wrong right off the bat when I should know better. But um,
I couldn't
I
help but
always think,
laugh. I'm sorry. I dog
oh,
you
I
there.
know. It's good. It's good. And I mean, he had a big weekend last weekend. He was 88 points to win Nanton, and I mean just a great bunch of guys. I mean, up and down this list, and yeah, you're just I mean, it's a little tougher, I think, for some of those guys to get in there because the money kind of falls off a little bit
Mm,
outside of the couple of spots in the bubble and everything like that. But again, Langley can do a lot. I mean, we saw Wyatt Casper down in the States. He won the Extreme Bronx finals down there, and all
mhm.
of a sudden he's way in the top two or three. So I mean, we know he's capable of that up here as well this last weekend. So again, it'll be quite a trip out to BC for sure for these guys.
Well, so in saying that, I guess one thing before we move on, I guess we probably could talk about the year-end awards as we're moving through this. So, you mentioned Horse of the Year in barrel racing cast. What about is there a breakaway award?
Yes, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. It would
Okay.
be Hot for Teacher, which
Yes.
is who Brady Whiteside rides and is owned by Ben Bamford. And this horse has been Horse of the Year award winner before for breakaway roping, I want to say twice.
There you go. So,
Yeah.
okay, we can't, if I forget to bring it up for each event, just remind me of that we need to pull it back in.
Okay.
But in the saddle bronc riding, Tokyo Bubbles and the Calgary Stampede took home the Horse of the Year this year. Is that kind of surprise, Clay? I know Tokyo's a great horse and they've done a lot of winning on her, but am I crazy? Am I throwing it out there as being wild if I'm saying it's a surprise?
Not at all. I think again, the horse is 17 years old.
Yeah.
This is the first title that Tokyo has taken and everything like that. But I think a lot of them, you don't want to say it's a lifetime achievement award in a sense, but you're definitely considering the consistency that that horse has had over the entire career and had a great year. Again, that's a horse Zach Dallas wins Pinoca on, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean they've been doing a lot on that horse, and again, I mean maybe they remember it bucked off Ben Anderson at the CFR last year.
Mm-hmm.
It caught a
Mm-hmm.
few people by surprise there, but I think once, unfortunately, Explosive Skies was retired there this
Yeah.
summer, and things like that kind of changes that perspective a bit. But it's one of those things. I don't look at it like it's. I mean, it wouldn't have been necessarily the first one that comes to mind, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's cool
Not a
to
bad choice at
honor
the end of
horse
the day.
like that.
It's a really good, like she really bucks, and they've had some big rides on her as we've seen throughout the season. And I guess yeah, tip of the hat to the Calgary Stampede bucking strength for having that many good horses. But anyways, back to business. Play. I guess we don't really need to make a season leader prediction. I feel like if Zeke fumbles the bag, that'll be the biggest surprise. That'll be like him when he bucked off the first round. So I but I don't. I also don't want to take anything away from Lucas Moxa because I feel like he has the tools to catch him. But I'm going with Zeke for my season leader. So I don't know if you guys have any other predictions that way, but I guess we can just leave it at that. Okay, let's start with our. Let's do the bubble then. Clay, who's getting in? Who's staying home from Edmonton here in a few weeks?
Ooh, you're gonna make us decide who's staying home too.
That's what we've been doing the last two events. What do you
It's
mean?
horrible. It's horrible.
No.
Yeah.
I've been just I guess I've been looking at it saying two that I thought were getting in,
Yeah, but so
not
the other two,
one in,
so if you
one
don't
out.
see if you don't get in, then the other there's two people got to come out.
Oh, yeah, I missed that
Putting
part.
us in a horrible position.
Yeah. See, I just thought you were doing it wrong, Wacey, by saying, okay, I'm hoping for one person that's in and one person that's out.
No,
But
no,
no,
no.
I guess it's me. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I'm gonna say Zeke's gonna hold it. Yeah, I know you said that it's done,
Mm,
but yeah, I'm still gonna say it. If I'm hoping for anybody right now, it's Cole Ashbacker.
yeah.
Again,
He's been
I'm
kind of on
a
a heater too. He's got checks the last
yes.
five rodeos.
He has again for the Ashbacker family. There, it's a huge loss. I mean, you can't fault Cole for anything in life. I mean, just a great individual, an amazing bronc rider that I hope for everything for him, and so I'm hoping for a big weekend for Cole.
Hmm.
I want to see him back at CFR. I know he had a little bit of trouble there last year, and he knows what he wants to do better, and I
Hmm.
hope he gets that opportunity.
And he did win Langley last year.
Yes, he did. And again, he knows how to rise up. I mean,
Hmm.
it is very difficult to get that guy on the ground.
Hmm.
He is just, yeah, he's a cowboy. Uh, when it comes down to who he would bump out, geez. I mean, we saw Sawyer here kind of work his way in, and again, those couple of guys that are down there. I mean, I don't like I said, I'm pulling for Kyle and Sawyer. I'm gonna just say if Cole gets in, likely one of those two gets bumped out.
Hmm. Yeah, that's probably a fair assessment, but it's gonna be a wild weekend. Cass, who do you got? Who's gonna be the final two spots heading into Edmonton? You can chime in here. You know enough what you're talking about.
No, I echo what basically everything that he's just said. Cole getting in there. I'm curious to know on Sawyer's rodeo count. I know in their spreadsheet that number but might be incorrect, but I would be curious to confirm that for later on. So if he is below, then Cole is in,
He
and
has
then we'd be
33.
he does have
Yeah.
30, so that's incorrect. So probably my clumsy fingers messed that up. So okay, perfect. So he's in there for sure. Um, yeah, I don't like this game. Cole Ashbacker, love to see him in there. Great guy, super nice. But I don't want to bump anybody out. I don't know Sawyer. There, I'll bump him out because I don't know him.
Well, and I guess, and we should put a disclaimer out there. This is no slight to any particular person, place,
No.
or thing. We're the media, so we have to make these predictions to kind of start some conversation. That's all we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And obviously too, all this stuff we're talking about right now is unofficial. There's been no official standings update. I don't want to get fired from my job
Yes.
by spreading fake news. But anyways, let's roll into the bareback riding. It's been Clay and I've talked about this a ton over the last probably 2 3 weeks. That kind of it's going to come down to Clint Lay, Oren Larson duking it out. They got the same rodeo count. They're within $600, $700 of each other. It is going to be a dogfight for that season leader, Clay.
They again, we've been talking about it. They've been just hammering away. And again, you look at both of them, they just barely got the rodeo count.
Yeah.
They have maximized their opportunities. And I mean, we could also think about some of the opportunities that didn't pan out. I mean, neither Oren Larson bucked off in the 4 round at Ponoka.
Mm-hmm.
Clint didn't make it out of his long round. There didn't have necessarily the greatest go there
Mm-hmm.
and everything. But again, they know what they're doing. They're riding well.
Mm-hmm.
They're two very similar riding styles in two long, lanky bareback riders that really know how to get around the front end of a horse and just really pick them up and make them flashy
Mm-hmm.
and they're again two of the best bareback riders we've had in Canada for 10 years.
Yeah,
And so
they're outstanding competitors, those two guys.
they absolutely are. And so it's going to come down to one of the two of them at
Mm-hmm.
the end of this weekend. Not to slight any of the other bareback riders, but I don't think they're gonna give an inch to those
No,
the rest of the field.
just with the way, like, and it feels like those guys have been heating up. Like Oren's really making a push for the NFR. Clint's been riding so well lately. Same with Oren. So I think they're really gonna it's gonna be really exciting. Like that might be one of the more exciting season leader races to watch at the end of the day. Obviously the barrel racing is gonna be exciting in the breakaway, but just seeing these two like great champions go head to head as we finish up out west here. I guess in looking at the bubble watch, I like looking at the two guys who are in 11th and 12th right now. I feel like they're riding well right now, and it's gonna be tough for Chet and Wyatt Maines to catch these guys. But
Mhm.
Clay, do you think Clay and Cass? I guess I'll pose a question. Do you think that Jake Stemo, or Cody Lamb kind of lets up here, and lets one of those guys to the back door?
No,
No,
not
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't see either one of them giving an inch. They've again both been coming on strong here.
Mm-hmm,
Cody
mm-hmm.
obviously had to sit out the last couple of rounds at the CFR last year and had a long road to recovery. Maybe helped him write a few more good songs. But coming out here strong and finishing the year on a high note here, and Jacob Stemo again has just since that call up to Calgary has just been plugging
Buzzing.
away here, and we've talked about him in previous episodes about how we wouldn't be surprised if he worked his way in here, and lo and behold, unofficially there he is.
Yeah.
So again, it's a great field that's currently making it. I mean, you hope for Chet or Wyatt. I'm a fan of Wyatt there, and I I can remember him hitching a ride with me back when he was a steer rider, and I put him to work at home and everything like that many moons ago. But he's a heck of a bareback rider again that would definitely do great if he makes it there. But I don't see any of those guys giving him much of an inch. And
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Mazurenko, he's that bareback riding rookie of the year world title is very tough these years, but he's had a great year on both sides as well. So a lot of good bareback riders in there that'll make a great field regardless.
What do you think, Cass?
Yeah, I'm pumped to see Cody up in there. Cody, I went to high school and elementary school with his sister Callie, so always like to see Cody in there and making it back to the CFR. Stemo looked incredible at Calgary. I was pumped,
Mm.
and so it's awesome to see him sitting where he is. So for me, Bubble Watch, I'd like it to just stay this bunch of guys and go from there, and then I don't have to pick who I want picked out or anything. Because yeah, I think it's a great field, and talking
Hmm.
about Warren and Clint, like roughly unofficially just under $700 between the two of them for that season leader race is pretty impressive. So
Pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be fun to watch that kind of shake up. And I guess before we move into the bull riding, Agent Link's 2024 Horse of the Year. I think that's no surprise. It's funny you talk about the saddle bronc versus the bareback, but Agent Link's had like an outstanding year. Got to see a few of. Is it a mare or a stud or a gelding?
It's
What
a
is
Merritt,
it's a
yeah.
mare? Yeah, she's awesome. So she had probably one of the best trips I've ever seen her have or a bareback horse have was in Sundry with Justin Myers there. There's a video on my Instagram page if you haven't seen it. She bucked pretty hard that day.
Just yeah, they've I mean up and down the road all year. That one is more of a no doubter. Again, I rodeoed when her mom Lynx Mountain was going down the road, and she was just an outstanding mare. And Agent Lynx has just really come on strong. I mean, in the same week they won the American and Houston honor this spring, and again win Pinoca with Weston Timberman there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and just yeah, up and down the road. That's she's just been an outstanding horse all year long, and kudos to her to keep going, and yeah, just not much else you can say other than a heck of a horse.
Yep, good one. Good one. Another good one from the Calgary Stampede. Okay, moving along. We're in the bull riding. I guess I can talk about that a little bit, and I guess, but we got Jake Gardner. Jake Gardner and Jared Parsons looks like they're gonna be the ones battling it out here for the season leader title. And I mean, you can't count out Grady Young, just with how much money he's made in the past few weeks, the way he's riding. And the amount of money available across this weekend. So it'll be exciting to watch those two guys battle it out. Jake's pushing for the NFR. Jared's doing the same old Jared stuff, staying on pretty much everything they're not under him. So that's like not a surprise one bit. I think the bubbles where gets interesting in the bull riding guys. There's I think anybody from like 19th to even ninth place in the standings, there's really no safe place to be. You got a guy like Lonnie West who's riding really good, picking up some steam, and he's been to the CFR before, won rounds there, so he wouldn't be surprising to see him make a big push here. Trent Switzer's had a good year. Tyler Craig's been to the CFR. Ashton Sully's riding really well as well right now. So I mean, if I'm the guy sitting in ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, I'm sweating a little bit.
Yeah, the dollar amounts there on the outside of the bubble, 13, 14. Ashton Solly at roughly estimated, whatever, $273.40.
Close.
Like so close. And then Tyler Craig about $422.58. Like so close after that for Jordan Spears, 2,700 and so on. But those two guys are super close. And it's the bull riding. I mean, sometimes you see a rodeo where one guy wins
Mhm.
it, gets all the ground money, and you carry on, right? So
Yeah.
it's anything can happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite
That
exciting.
brings up a great point. Again, if we look Sunday night in Armstrong at the tour finals and only one of those guys stays on, that could be
Yeah.
just an absolute game
Mhm.
changer. We just hope that Tyler Craig can stay on a bull better than he can stay on a stretcher there, Wacey. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's an all-time classic, but it'll be exciting to watch. So I guess we can get back to our prediction side of things. Who do you got as the season leader, and who do you have getting in the bottom two spots? Cass, we'll start with you.
Oh, you're awful. Okay. You know what? I want to see Jared take home season leader and he can do it. So we'll go with that. And then on the bubble end of things, I'd like to see Tyler get in there. Tyler Craig.
He's your guy. All
Yep.
right. All right. Clay, who do you got?
2 seconds to get back here. I got to go with Jacob. Man, you can't bet against the guy that's rodeoing like he is right now, and winning
Mhm.
like he is. He's up by 5 right now, and I'd be surprised if he didn't come out of this weekend with anything. So that's my pick for season leader. Nothing against Jared Parsonage. You know he knows how to win
Mhm.
for sure. And I we've talked about him a little bit here, and as we mentioned, it's anybody's game. I'm gonna go with Lonnie.
Damn,
Lonzo
you
there.
picked mine.
We I gotta go with the guy I might run into while I'm picking up the mail or stopping at the drugstore here in Provost. He's been on a roll, and we saw the one rodeo he was like you say, the only one to stay on. He cleared over 5 grand alone on that. So
Mhm.
that 40 some $100 isn't nothing to make up. I know that that's just to get to the 12th guy and not have anybody between him make more than he does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's gonna take a swing on that one.
That's hey man. I was gonna do the same thing. My picks to get in those bottom two spots are Ashton and Lonnie. Ashton's been on a heater since Dawson Creek, and I think Lonnie is really hungry to get back to the CFR in Edmonton. And I'm gonna go with Grady Young to win the season leader title. Nobody's hotter than that kid right now. He's got the confidence. He's wearing a hat. I don't know if he should be doing that, but I guess you can't tell him what to do because he's a grown up. But anyways, he's my money's on Grady to have a big weekend here and can close the gap between him and Jared and Jake. Okay, tie down rope, and we're almost there, folks. Getting toward the end. Cass. Oh yeah, bull of the year. Shit. We got Chester back-to-back years. Chester of the Kessler Championship Rodeo. I haven't seen him much this year, but it's mostly my fault for not going to any Kessler rodeos. But as everybody knows, he's outstanding. Bucked off Jared Parsonage in the final round of CFR 49 to pretty much win another Canadian title for Jared. So Chester is no slouch when it comes to bucking and stuff. So he's a good bull. Congrats to the Kessler firm. On I think that's their fourth or third in a row, right? Well, you had Advocate and then Chester. Yeah. So the third bull of the year title in a row. So congrats to Dwayne and crew over there. Okay, Cass. Take us through the tie down rope and give us a breakdown, what you think, and all that fun stuff.
All that fun stuff. Logan is holding on to the number one position. Behind him, we have Haven, roughly $10,430.51 behind, which is wild to me. But also, I mean, I haven't looked at entries and who's up in the draw and all the rest of it. If Haven is coming, you can't leave him out. Like Haven's so fast. So, and Logan,
Can he win enough this weekend though to catch Logan?
I don't. Well, with the 10,000, I don't know. Can he? I don't
know.
think
Can
so.
he play? Can he?
Play?
I mean,
It'll be tough.
I think it's gonna be pretty much Logan's season leader award
Yeah.
to be had. I don't think, and that would mean that Logan would have to pack up and not win anything either,
Right, and that's
which
not
is
going to happen.
pretty hard to bet against.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw from his post, and I was going to mention this one earlier. I saw Logan had posted about the weekend. Besides the fact that he had a good weekend, he had all three of his horses that he's hauling got placed on, and he just gave a great shout out to the Nanton crew, which I mean, it's his family through and through that committee. The extended family of Clark Slosher and everyone there that put that on and everything, whether it's the Searses or the Sloshers or the Bird family, they all tie together and worked hard there. But I'm not betting against him for season leader. I'm not betting against Haven for a CFR title. That's
yeah.
Well, then
100%.
Logan mentioned that in his interview from a few weeks ago that he's trying to get as big of a head start as he can on Haven.
Yes.
So he's really not going to let the pedal off this weekend, is he, Cass?
No, he's definitely not. And he does. He always has a string of great horses. As we know, his great horse TJ, he's got Peso now, and Lord only knows. I know that you guys did talk to him about all the horses that he had coming up. I did listen to that episode. Do I remember the names? No.
I forget too. So
one of them's Voodoo.
Yeah, one of them. Yes, that's correct.
Speaking of Peso, Cast, that's the 2023 horse of the year or 2024. Yes. Jesus. Talk a bit about Peso and what makes him so great.
He's fast. And Logan will tell you that he's fast. He's fast-footed horse, and that is so important in the tie-down roping. Mm-hmm. Not that I am a tie-down roper myself, but you know that it is important, and Logan will tell you that all day long. I think that horse has really come on in the last few years. I mean, you've got any guys are getting on him. He's been down to the NFR, that horse. Like, he's really cool, and he just gets better and better as the years go on. And to no surprise, Logan has had nice horses in the past. He's got a nice horse now, and there's going to be more to come. We'll always have Logan Bird with horse of the year in the tie-down roping, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have so many great horses back to back to back, but it's also not surprising given how great the Bird family is with their animals and the care they put into that stuff. But let's talk Bubble Cast. It's looking like it's going to take 20,000 just to get into the top 12 in the tie-down open.
Yeah, so right now we've got Riley Warren who's sitting 12th, unofficially with this number of 19,642. Below him would be Tyler Popescal, about 1,100, almost $1,200 behind him. Steele
Mhm.
DePoli, a little over 2,000. Ben Robinson, 2,233. So it's kind of close in there, but not as close as say the breakaway roping or anything else. There was a little bit smaller amount there. Yeah, I don't know, and I don't really want to have to keep picking with like who you want to get in and that, but if you want me to,
Who's
I'm
well, you have to pick one. Who's sneaking in the 12th spot? Who do you think Riley's gonna hold on, or is someone else gonna sneak in there? What do you got?
Popescal, Tyler Popescal. He'll
Get the
sneak in.
bros. The Pascal bros
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
CFR.
yeah. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. The more bros we can have, the better.
Yeah,
Uh,
always.
Clay, what do you got, dude?
I'm I know I went a little down the list the last one, and I'm gonna do it again. I'm
Dang.
going Eric DeBlanco.
Oh.
I high school rodeoed with Eric, and he is one of those guys that I admire so much for the work that he put in to become what he is. I mean,
Hmm.
when you see Eric, he's not that natural looking athlete
Hmm.
or anything like that. When I high school rodeoed again, he was a top competitor. But if you would have asked anybody, who do you think is going to be that consistent CFR qualifier, he wouldn't have been your first pick. And
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
nothing against him, but he traveled with the right crew. I mean, he grew up learning from Al Bouchard and Dean Edge and those guys, and just absorbed as much. And you would be surprised how many years he has been out of it going into August, and just clawed and fought
Mm.
his way in it. So I just, there's guys there that could do it, but I know when I saw Eric had another good weekend last week, and I said, not going to bet
Watch
against
out.
him.
Watch out.
I,
Watch out.
it's happening again, people. Eric's on his way.
Well, I love it. It's gonna be cool to see how it all shakes out. I'm gonna go with Tyler Pascal as well. But like I said, it'd be kind of cool to see the bros get in. Tyler's an old high school rodeo buddy from back in my wilder days, so gonna be fun to watch. Okay, we're getting there. Three left. Let's go into the steer wrestling. Probably the closest season leader race we have. Anybody from like even sixth place, I think still has a pretty good shot to pick it up. Brandon Lay, $7,000 behind. But Cass, talk a bit about the steer wrestling and then also get into the horse of the year because I know that's a something you know a lot about with old Tyson is the Hoffman horse. So I'll let you go ahead with that one.
Austin horse. Yes, so Shuckburg number one, about $38,070. Amazing. Good for him. After I'm not sure again if this number is correct at the end there on the
Close
rodeo.
enough.
Close enough, 36-ish rodeos or more. Lennon Beardsworth sitting second, and he's just like just under $1,300 behind Ryan. Like that's
Mm,
incredible to see. And just behind those two is Mr. Scott Gunther. But he's got about $4,000 that he's got to make up if he wants to get that season leader title. But like,
hmm.
is Scott tired? Does he care? Does he want to keep winning that all those kinds of things all the time? The guy, what doesn't he win? So it's
He's a
kind of cool.
dog.
He's a dog. It's cool to see two other guys up in the number one and number two right now. Of course, we got Cody Cassidy. He's sitting in there at fourth. But I want to bring up Curtis, and we're going to talk about Tyson, of course, but Curtis
Mm.
made a freaking jump.
Oh
Like
man.
huge jump. I want to say he was like 1920 and now he's sitting 10th. That's insane.
Unofficially.
Unofficially, that's insane, you guys. Seriously.
That's cool. That's cool.
Like what? And then we go to the bubble watch, of course. Ty Miller is just sitting on the outside by $542 unofficially. Matt Richardson, $944
Mhm.
unofficially. That's pretty close. Like anything can happen. And as we say, anything can happen. Look at Curtis's jump. That's
Oh my
insane.
gosh. Yeah. Well, then that's a good way to segue into the horse of the year. Curtis obviously owns Tyson, horse of the year, and that's
Yeah.
just a testament to the horsepower that he's able to ride.
Yes. Tyson Dashing Hayes, he is absolutely an incredible horse. What can we say? I mean, I don't want to just sit here and pump up Hoffman's horse products, but he is one of our sponsored athletes as well. Like he's a 12-time Canadian champion, 8 NFR qualifications. Gosh, he's probably had 37 CFR qualifications in multiple events, not just one event. So that's pretty cool. And Tyson not only is a badass just for Curtis. Like so many guys get to jump on him and make money.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
he's just an all around incredible horse. You watch him in the box, he knows his job, he sits there and he waits, and then he goes and he does it. He's incredible, and it's no surprise that he is once again horse of the year. I want to say, is it 5 times or is it 7?
I don't even
Might
know.
be 7.
That's
This is bad.
you
I
could
should know
say
that.
10. You could say 10, I believe you.
Oh,
That's
he's
how
the
good
10
Tyson
time.
is. That's how good Night Tyson is. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's just amazing. He's an incredible athlete.
Yeah, it's good. And it'd be good to have Curtis back at the CFR. He missed it last year, and
Yeah,
we all know that he's a fierce competitor and wants to be in there. So having him back in that picture is a good sight to see.
100%.
It's one of those things, and I put this note in our other stuff there, but last year, just before school was starting for our kids, we had taken a trip to Red Deer and stopped for lunch in Smitty's and Stettler, and long weekend, and Curtis Cassidy is also in Smitty's and Stettler instead of out in BC with Tyson because he'd been injured and again couldn't be out there, send his horse out, and I mean Tyson did Tyson things for everybody, and it's I just we when I looked at the standings after Pinoca, where Cody had a pretty dry year until he had all that money won at Pinoca,
Mhm.
but Curtis was still just miles out of it, and he has just been just rolling here. And you spoke to his ability on both ends. I got to watch Curtis rope a lot of calves over the years, and just he's such an incredible horse person,
Yeah.
and just knows how to get the most out of a horse and to find those diamonds in the rough consistently like that. It's just such a really neat thing.
Well, and would it be the 50th Canadian Finals Rodeo if it didn't have the Cassidy brothers at it or a Cassidy at it? Like it's hard to think of a CFR that doesn't involve one of those boys. So it's good to see them both in there. But anyways, let's make some picks. Okay, Cass, who do you got as your season leader and who's sneaking in there in the 12th spot?
Oh, okay. It's really stresses me out if you can't tell doing this. I'm gonna pick Landon for season leader. My God, it's
Oh,
a close little race at the end.
nice one.
Let's see another one get in there and just make a change. And Bubble,
Mhm.
I'm liking the look of the bubble right now, honestly.
Ooh.
Um, if Jesse doesn't have, like, if Jesse Brown doesn't have his rodeo count, which I think he should, then I would want Ty Miller in there. That
Mhm,
would be
mhm.
my pick. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Ty's a good pick. Clay,
Yeah.
who do you got, buddy?
Yeah, I
Are you gonna get in
think
trouble if you don't pick Scott?
I'm pretty sure I would. Uh, um, yeah, I again, I'm not going to bet against the hometown champion. I'm sure there's at least one or two Herefords in the draw in BC for him to pick. I know that he talks about that, or Landon pointed that out, that there's going to be a Hereford. I mean, you might not fully understand how deep his family and his wife's family are into the Hereford breed.
Fun fact.
Oh, it's up and down there. So I think that, yeah, I'm not going to count him out. I'm not going to go against the grain on there. I wish the best for Ryan and Landon, but I wish the better for Scott. And I when it comes down to the bubble, I I would like to say Evan Spady, just because I'd really enjoy getting to see him there. It's great to see him that close, but I think I got to go with Matt Richardson.
Oh,
My last year college rodeoing up here, I didn't really have a roping partner, and Matt was just starting a rodeo, and they put me together with him, and I don't know if it was meant to be a good thing or a bad thing on what he thought he was expecting, but I can remember him saying, he's like, I really want to say thank you. When they said I was roping with you, I was really scared. I didn't know what you were going to be like because I didn't know you, but you were really, really nice. And I always remember that. And I've just enjoyed watching Matt grow into the steer wrestler that he is. I know
mhm.
he's been there before. And again, that's nothing to make up this weekend. So hoping he gets in there.
I'm gonna go with Scott just for the sake of I want him to get into the NFR. No other reason. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting to watch that race shake out. But you can't pick a wrong winner there. Politician answer by me. And in the bubble, I'm gonna go with Ty Miller, another really good guy on the steer wrestling side of things, and he's always good to have around and a nice guy. So I'm hoping for Ty. Okay, I think we should combo the team ropers just for the sake of time. So what I'll do, quick overview. I'm gonna go. Well, I'll let you guys kind of talk about it a little bit. Okay, so in the heading side of things, we have two guys kind of in contention to catch T McLeod, Cavis Drake and Dustin Bird. Dustin, I don't know how hard I don't know if he's entered up this weekend. I'll have to look at that. I think he is, so he still has a shot. And then Cavis Drake, the young gun rookie, looking like he's gonna try and make a push for that season leader title, but T McLeod ultimately takes the top spot there. Onto the healing end of things, Jeremy Bueller, I think, has the year end wrapped up. Nobody can win $13,000 this weekend, but that's not to take away from the awesome season for Denham Ross and Sid Sporer. Okay, so that's our season leader. In the bubble watch on the header side, we got two or three guys in contention to kind of maybe catch Roland McFadden for that final spot in the heading side, and then we got another handful of fellows close to Braden Brose. But I think that like like, there's a lot of money available in the team roping, but it seems like there's a bit steeper mountain to climb on either side, you guys. So let's start with Cass. What do you think on the team roping? And then we'll make some picks.
I don't watch a lot of team roping. I Most of the roping that I watch will be the breakaway roping and the barrel racing, so I don't have a lot to be said
Mm,
with regard to the team roping. Honestly, when I look at the bubble watch, I like the bunch of headers in there. It's good to see Roland back in there. I think he won Canada in 2015. I
hmm
believe I wrote an article for a magazine about the guy that year. And same on the healing end of things. It'd be cool to see Keely Bonnet get in there.
hmm hmm
But otherwise, yeah, and you can't touch Jerry with that big of a lead. It's kind of
Yeah.
wild to see that lead. It's pretty crazy.
He's been a man on a mission this year, that guy. You can tell that he
Yeah,
wants that title, so he's gonna
yeah.
get it.
Okay, those are my 2 cents.
Okay, and then who's getting in?
Well, like I said, headers, I think the headers are good. They're all getting in, and I'm not touching anybody on the bubble.
Okay.
And then I'd go with Keely. I mean, you could go with Keely and you could go with Logan, truly, if you really want to.
A toss up. Okay. All right,
Yeah.
Clay. What are your thoughts on the team roping?
It's really remarkable to think of somebody having a year like Jeremy has, who he
Hmm.
helped two headers make the CFR.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. I never thought of
You,
that.
and I had to look at the draw after you said that, because I was like, who's he going to enter Armstrong with? But I don't see Dustin entered there either. It is him and Trey.
Mm.
They have been just on a tear.
Mm-hmm.
Even more, again, you can't fault how Dustin and Jeremy roped at Ponoka to get to where they are, but Dustin didn't end up even in the standings, in the tour standings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, so again, you've got that situation, and it's just, yeah, it's been, the team roping has been up and down all year long. The partner switches have been interesting, and led to some pretty cool results there. We talked about Tyrell Fuelling placing, winning two rodeos and getting second over 2 weekends with three different partners.
That's
was
crazy.
was just the crazy thing there, and everything. Yeah, that heading season leader race. I mean, I'm uh I'm gonna go with Grady Quam,
Oh,
just
what the?
because that kind of segues into the healing, because as we talked about on the top part of the show, if Grady makes enough on the head end to be season leader, that means suddenly Logan Groves makes enough to get into the CFR.
And he needs $3,600 at the stands, $3,700, and nobody in between them.
So
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 that's a
it's
hot
it's
take if I've ever heard one, Clay.
Yeah.
you know, I I gotta go there, because I just, when I heard that breakup, or just kind of rearrangement in the second last weekend of the year last weekend, where we
Mm-hmm.
see Grady and Tice there split, and break up the Groves boys for a bit. It's an interesting dynamic, and they're both roping
Mm-hmm.
outstanding, those teams, and yeah, I think that's gonna be my
That's your
hot take.
picks. I like it, man. I told Clay that they need to make a Keeping Up with the Team Ropers reality show just so we can keep up with all the partner switches and stuff. I think that'd be a fun way to
I was just gonna say this sounds like reality television all of a sudden.
I'm sure it's less messy than some of that stuff, but it'd be kind of be funny just to see the inner workings of how that all goes down. But and like I said earlier, it's worked for these guys, so you can't fault
Yeah.
them for anything. Okay, heading side, I'm gonna go with T to hold on to that year-end title. I remember when T was a tiny child back when I was high school rodeo back in Saskatchewan, so it's crazy to see him where he's at now, which is also not a surprise because those kids grew up with the rope in their hands. And I think Keely Bonnet's gonna get in the healing side just because he's my buddy and I think he's a good dude, so I'm rooting for him. And
Yeah.
then I'm thinking I'm with Cass and think the headers will stay as they are. I really hope to see Roland get in that crew. So that's gonna be a fun wrap up to the season and how things shake out. I guess we need to talk about horses of the year as well. So T McLeod, his horse, I had it here and I forgot already. T McLeod and his horse. Um RB and Jeremy Bueller and his horse Haas took home horse of the year. Cass, I'll let you take it away. You're the horse gal of the trio right now.
I am the horse gal of the trio. I think it's really important that everyone that owns a horse that gets voted on this to really like take that in to be voted on by your peers that you have the
Mm.
best horse in the bunch in the season. Like that's so special and really speaks to the horse itself. I'll bring up mare power if you really want me to. I want to but we won't go too far into it. We were talking about Agent Lynx being like how badass of a mare she is. Like mare power is
Oh,
important.
I love my
Anyways,
riding mares is the best.
I love them. Anyways, and I don't know if either of these two horses are mares. I digress. It's really special to have your horse voted on in this way. So I hope both of them realize like how truly special it is. And I don't know anything about their horses and them if they train them or how where they got them from or anything like that. But if they did train on them themselves, then congratulations to both of them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool thing. And I guess before we kind of put a bow on this episode, we should shout out the rest of our award winners and CFR personnel selectors, people who've been selected with the CFR. Sorry, that was some bad English on my end. So Brett Gardner wins his 13th consecutive announcer of the year. He keeps on adding to the record. I think it's just the more Brett keeps going and he keeps growing, he's going to continue to win it, which is I'm sure is no surprise to either of you.
No, no surprise. Brett's the world of Brett. He's fantastic.
We're so
Um,
lucky to have him up here. I think that's one thing
Truly,
people were like take maybe even take it for granted. Maybe is the wrong word, but we're so lucky to have Brett announce some of our
yeah,
biggest rodeos.
completely agree. He's legendary.
And I mean,
Oh yeah,
you
go
look
ahead,
at him.
Clay.
I mean, he's got. I mean, he's got as much of a career ahead of him as he wants.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
true. He's still a young
it's
guy.
he's been so, and I think his persona and his performance is just building all the time. I
Mm.
mean, he just there's just that essence that he creates for an
Oh,
event,
he has
right?
the aura. When he shows up somewhere, you just know like Brett's there, and when he's on the mic, like you can. So I tell this story a lot, but the one thing that I think the way you can separate Brett from the rest of the world is that like okay, so like my girlfriend and her brother and stuff, they don't come from a rodeo background, but he announces the IPE every year, and they went down there and they've been able to hear Brett for how many years. I took them to their first Calgary Stampede, I guess almost 3 years ago now, and we sit down in the stands and they hear the announcer like, "Hey, that's the guy from IPE." I'm like, that's it's such a funny thing to like have a guy like Brett with that recognizable of a voice to people who aren't even rodeo people. Yeah, we're pretty lucky. Anyways, okay. Uh let's go. Let's okay, so moving on, we got Shelby Pearson Piper Ewell win specialty dress actor of the year for the fifth time. That's again probably not a huge surprise there. Those two are pretty badass and do some cool stuff. Carrie Crystal has won her second consecutive or fourth consecutive Janet Voll Memorial Award. So congrats to her. Ricky Ticky Wanchuk gets the hat trick as the entertainer of the year. Congrats to Ricky Ticky. He's one of the good guys and been around forever. And then hats off to Vern McDonald and Dwayne Ashbacker. Vern won and C5 Rodeo, won the Casal Contractor of the Year, and Dwayne Ashbacker won his like I don't know every year they've had the award of the steer riding contractor of the year. So congrats to the Ashbacker family. That's a great thing to do. If you want to come through and check out who the CFR personnel have been selected are and all the award winners, we'll be posting more about it on social media, but there is an article on the website. And yeah, I'm out of breath. So you guys got anything else to wrap up this end of the year, end of last week of the season, SMS Pro Tour Finals preview.
Go buy your CFR tickets if you haven't already. And
Yes.
to everyone that's made it this far in the season, I hope you guys have had a great year and see you at the CFR in Edmonton.
Oh, thank you, Cass. Thank you for all your work on this, by the way. I want to give you a special shout out. That saved Clay and I a ton of work, and we appreciate everything you do for the sport of rodeo behind the scenes. So thank you once again. Thanks for joining us, and this has been a blast. Clay,
Yeah.
thanks for the time today, buddy. I don't know if you have anything else. I've cut you off a couple times in this last
I
sentence,
just say get your popcorn because we got to see how this weekend's going to shake out.
it's gonna be awesome.
There's action. Cowboy Channel Plus app's going to have a bunch of it for us to see, and
Yes,
just check it out and follow along and refresh.
we're gonna do our best to keep you updated via the pro rodeo channels. Obviously, Cowboy Channel is gonna have streams of all the rodeos this weekend. So excuse me. If you're interested to see how things shake out, like Clay said, get your popcorn ready, tune into the Cowboy channel, tune into our social media channels. We will be updating the people as we move along here. But I'm super excited to see how it all ends up. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I got some work to do, but thanks, Clay. Thanks, Cass. This has been really fun. And I guess that's gonna do it for episode 5 of the Half Point. We will catch you all next week for episode 21 of the short round. Adios.